FBA ADOS versus Fat Joe situation. And today is the first day of Kwanzaa. Happy Kwanzaa to all my American Africans and Africans throughout the world. The first principle of Kwanzaa is umoja, unity. Umoja, unity. In the interest of unity, I am proposing that there be a public seminar, conference, and hearing on who exactly created hip-hop. From my understanding, hip-hop is exclusively an American African creation, although there has been Latino African contribution. From my understanding, hip-hop is an American African creation with Latino African contribution. I could be wrong on that. In fairness to the Latino African family, in fairness to the American African family, there needs to be a public discussion, a town hall meeting on this issue, because I don't want this to turn left. I don't want it to turn right. And I don't want the white American power structure to manipulate American Africans against Latino Africans. So what needs to happen? All the mothers and fathers of hip hop, everyone who believes that they are a mother or father of hip hop, everyone who claims to have been there at the foundation of hip hop need to be on a panel. I am volunteering Dr. Umar Tunde, the most relevant voice in the Black African world, not just in America, but the entire planet. I am volunteering to facilitate this conversation. There needs to be a conversation. There needs to be clarity. Too many people are not speaking up who know the truth because they don't want to offend people. Whether you don't want to offend the American Africans, whether you don't want to offend the Latino Africans, we need truth. Now, I do want to say this. Being the creator of something isn't the same as being a contributor. So you can create something or you can be a contributor. The right, excellent, honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey is the greatest Pan-Africanist who ever lived. But he did not create Pan-Africanism. It predated the birth of even his parents. So again, we need to clarify. Were the Latinos there at the founding of hip-hop, or were they simply contributors to hip-hop? Okay, so they've made their contribution. That's undisputable, the Latino African contribution to hip-hop. The question is, were any of the founding fathers of the art form Latino? That is the question. Let's have a town hall meeting, seminar, conference in New York City. Dr. Umar will facilitate, because I ain't got no eggs or any bones on either side of the argument. I want truth. I'm an African. My culture is African. So my thing is, let's get to the bottom of this. I will facilitate the conversation, a respectful conversation with the American African and the Latino African community. Let's make this pop. Last thing I want to say to my Latino African family, I must say this. If you identify as African, because Latino is not a race. Latino is an ethnicity and a culture. It is not a race. If you identify with the African race, you're automatically within the founding of hip hop, because you do not disassociate yourself from the African race. The big reason why this is even an argument, respectfully, to my Latino African family, is many of you do not accept your membership in the African race. You have an issue being considered a member of an African race. If you did not have that issue with identifying with your race, this would not even be a debate, because you would be African and there would be no were the Latinos there, because the Latinos are a branch of the African family. So if you identified as African, this is a non-argument. This is a non-discussion. Only because you want to section yourself out from the African race does this become an issue.
Yeah, basically I just came to do a little commentary on what Dr. Umar Johnson said. Now, Umar Johnson, he basically was saying the same thing as Lord Jamar. Hey, we can just sit down and have an intellectual debate about who created hip-hop. Now all the hell breaks loose when Lord Jamar says it. Why? Because he's a rapper? Why? Because he's from New York? Probably so. We just never know. In my humble pie, I'll say, yeah, he's from New York. So they think, oh, he's going against the grain. But even Dr. Umar himself, what did he say? He said, as far as I know, hip hop was created by African Americans. He's spot on with it. And like he said too, hey, I don't want this thing to turn into something else, because we know definitely it can turn into something else. And he also tapped in on the people not speaking up. And that's the thing that's been running through my head too. Why aren't people speaking up? Because they don't want to offend people. People might be in different positions that they can help you. So, oh no, I ain't gonna say nothing, because I might need to cross that bridge again. And then the person gonna look at me like, oh, you went against the grain. You didn't stand with me with it. So therefore I ain't helping you. Because we do know Fat Joe is kind of interconnected with BET and different stuff like that. So we can understand why some of these rappers might be trying to make a comeback or something. So, hey, nah, I ain't gonna say nothing. Mum's the word. You see what I'm saying? Which is not cool. And he also touched on, like, you claim that you're a part of the creation of hip hop and that you're African as well. Like we heard Fat Joe, hey, I'm a ninja too. But you only do it when it's convenient. That's what Umar was saying. You only do it when it's convenient. And 90% of the time, no, I'm not that. I'm Puerto Rican. So if it's created by African Americans and you're Puerto Rican, you just telling it right there. You're not a part of the creation of it. And he said it's cool to be a contributor, which it is. I can contribute to something. I don't have to create it. You know how much stuff African Americans haven't created? We haven't created a lot of stuff, but we have made that thing go. We have contributed to it. So you see, it's a lot of things that we have to watch about it. And I'm like everybody else. When are you going to stand up and stop letting people take what you created and put their stamp on it and say, hey, no, we created this? You know, because one generation passed and another cometh. All you have to do is stamp it as you created it. And then when all the ones that was there when it was created, or all the ones that know about this story pass on, guess what? The new people are going to be like, oh, yeah, it was created by Latinos, Puerto Ricans. Simple and plain. So we have to be careful, people. But Umar Johnson, big ups to him. He said it like it's supposed to be said. And definitely big ups to Lord Jamar. He been saying it, been trying to call them boys to the table, and they just don't want to come to the table and deal with this thing like grown men. And with that, I'm going to say this is the news and you. North, east, west, south, unite from every alley and Cali, intersection and back street. Subscribe to the channel and hit the thumbs up on your way out the door.
Star child, I never
seen the sunshine like this.
I never
Never seen the moon glow like
hey yo, I
this.
never